The meeting chamber was silent except for the soft hum of life support systems. 12 representatives from the last free species of the galaxy sat around a circular table, their faces illuminated by the pale blue light of holographic star maps. Each of them carried the weight of their civilization's survival on their shoulders. Elder Tom, the oldest member of the Council of Survivors, stood up slowly. His gray skin reflected the dim light as he pointed at the latest reports hovering in the air. 3 more systems fell to the Dominion last week, he said, his voice trembling. The outer colonies of the plant people are gone. Just gone. The plant people's representative, a tall being made of intertwined vines and flowers, drooped visibly. Our people fought until the end, she whispered. But their ships, they just kept coming. The Dominion had appeared 20 years ago. Nobody knew where they came from. These beings of living crystal who saw organic life as nothing more than resources to be harvested. Their massive ships, each one the size of a small moon, moved through space like unstoppable forces of nature. They didn't negotiate. They didn't show mercy. They simply took what they wanted. "Look at this," said Commander Rick of the Trading Worlds, pushing a button on the table. A new hologram appeared, showing the galaxy's spiral arms. Red dots covered most of it. Dominion territory. The blue spots, marking free worlds, were getting smaller every month. At this rate, we have maybe 2 years before they find all our hidden colonies. The council members watched as the computer calculated the Dominion's expansion. Nobody spoke. They had all seen too many worlds fall, too many species disappear. The Dominion's crystal ships would arrive in orbit, ignore all attempts at communication, and begin their harvest. They broke down everything, cities, forests, oceans, into raw materials. When they finished, only bare rock remained. "Our last fleet engagement was a disaster," reported General May, her metal body making a soft clicking sound as she moved. Her people, the mechanics, had once been proud warriors. Now they were refugees like everyone else. We lost 30 ships to destroy just one of theirs. Their crystal technology. It's like nothing we've ever seen. Our weapons barely scratched them. A small furry creature named Pip jumped onto the table. As the head scout of the Shadowrunners, he brought the most recent intelligence. "The Dominion is changing its patterns," he reported, pulling up new data. "They're becoming more efficient, learning from each conquest. Their ships are evolving." The council members looked at each other in despair. They had tried everything: massive fleets, guerrilla attacks, experimental weapons. Nothing worked against the Dominion's crystal ships. The crystalline beings inside them thought in ways no organic mind could understand. They were perfectly logical, perfectly coordinated, and completely unstoppable. "Maybe," Elder Tom started, then stopped. Everyone turned to look at him. "Maybe it's time we accepted the end. Our species had good runs. The galaxy gave us life. And now..." Suddenly, all the lights in the chamber flashed red. Warning signals blared. Council members jumped to their feet, fear evident in their postures. Had the Dominion finally found their secret meeting place? But the computer's voice was excited, not alarming. ALERT. Unknown signal detected. Origin. Unexplored spiral arm sector 7. Signal pattern does not match any known species or Dominion communications. The hologram shifted, showing a distant part of the galaxy. A single point of light pulsed there, sending out waves of unknown energy. The council members gathered around it, their earlier despair forgotten for a moment. "That's impossible," whispered Commander Rick. "We mapped every advanced civilization in the galaxy before the Dominion came. There's nothing out there." But the signal continued, strong and steady. It wasn't like anything they had seen before, not the precise, cold patterns of Dominion transmissions, nor the familiar formats used by known species. Elder Tom leaned forward, his ancient eyes studying the signal pattern. For the first time in years, a small smile appeared on his face. "Well," he said softly, It seems the galaxy still has some surprises left. The Council of Survivors didn't know it yet, but hope was coming. From a direction nobody had thought to look, a single ship was about to change everything. The galaxy had lived in fear for 20 years, but that was about to end. Because humanity had finally reached the stars. A flash of blue light tore through space as the thunder emerged from hyperspace. The massive warship hung against the backdrop of stars, its dark hull reflecting the light of a distant sun. At nearly 2 kilometers long, it was humanity's greatest achievement, their first and only interstellar warship. On the bridge, Captain James Stone stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the main screen. The stars here were different from Earth's sky, a reminder of how far they had traveled. "Status report," he ordered. "All systems normal after the jump, Captain," replied Officer Mike from his station. "The alien drive core is stable. Those ruins we found on Mars really came through for us." The Thunder was unique in the galaxy, though its crew didn't know it yet. Human engineers had combined their own technology with designs found in an ancient alien shipwreck on Mars. The result was something entirely new, not quite human, not quite alien, but powerful in ways neither had imagined. "Captain," called out Lisa from the sensor station, her voice urgent. "I'm picking up weapons fire at coordinates 227 Mark 45. Multiple ships engaged in combat." Stone straightened his uniform. "Show me." The main screen lit up with a distant battle. A small transport ship, its engines glowing red with strain, fled from 3 larger vessels. The pursuing ships were beautiful in a strange way, their hulls made of what looked like living crystal that pulsed with internal light. "The smaller ship is broadcasting some kind of distress signal," Lisa reported. "It's not in any language we know, but the meaning seems clear enough." Stone didn't hesitate. "Battle stations. Helm, set intercept course. Let's introduce ourselves to the neighborhood." Red alert klaxons sounded throughout the ship as crew members rushed to their posts. The Thunder's engines flared to life, pushing the massive vessel toward the battle at speeds that should have been impossible for its size. Inside the refugee ship, Captain Lee of the Free Traders stared at his sensors in disbelief. "What in the galaxy is that?" he asked nobody in particular. His small crew, exhausted from their desperate escape attempt, gathered around the screen. The unknown ship was like nothing they had ever seen. It didn't have the crystalline beauty of Dominion vessels, nor the familiar designs of any known species. Instead, it looked almost crude, all angles and armor plates, more like a mobile fortress than a spaceship. The Dominion ships noticed the newcomer too. They broke off their pursuit, turning to face this potential new threat. Their crystal hulls pulsed with energy as they prepared their weapons. On the Thunder's bridge, Stone watched the crystal ships approach. "Open a channel," he ordered. "All frequencies." "This is Captain James Stone of the Earth ship Thunder," he broadcast. "We request that you cease your pursuit of the civilian vessel immediately." The only response was a burst of energy from the lead crystal ship, a warning shot that passed just in front of the Thunder's bow. Stone's expression hardened. "I guess they're not the talking type." "Tactical analysis. Their ships are made of some kind of living crystal," Captain, reported Officer Tom. "Energy readings are off the charts, but there's something strange about their movement patterns. They're too perfect, too predictable." "Load main guns," Stone ordered. "Let's show them how Earth says hello." The Thunder's response shocked everyone watching. Instead of firing energy weapons or missiles, the human ship launched what looked like chunks of metal into space. The Dominion ships, expecting standard energy attacks, maintained their perfect formation. It was a mistake. The metal chunks exploded into clouds of specialized paint, coating the crystal hulls. The Dominion ship's sensors, used to dealing with energy weapons and solid projectiles, were completely confused by the simple chemical attack. In their moment of confusion, the Thunder struck. Conventional missiles slipped through gaps in their defenses, detonating against the now vulnerable crystal hulls. One Dominion ship cracked like glass and went dark. The remaining 2 crystal ships retreated, their perfect coordination shattered by this completely unexpected form of warfare. On the refugee ship, Captain Lee and his crew watched in amazement. In all their years of running from the Dominion, they had never seen anything like this. A single ship had just done what entire fleets had failed to accomplish. "Get me a channel to that transport," Stone ordered. "Let's find out what we've just stepped into." The Thunder's main observation deck offered a perfect view of the horror unfolding below. Through the reinforced windows, Captain Stone and his crew watched as 3 Dominion ships descended upon a peaceful agricultural world. The planet's surface glowed with beautiful blue oceans and green fields, at least for now. "They're starting their harvest cycle," Captain Lee said quietly. The refugee captain had stayed aboard the Thunder to help them understand what they were seeing. "Watch." The crystal ships positioned themselves in a triangle formation above the planet. Beams of white light shot from their hulls, connecting them in a perfect geometric pattern. Then, methodically, they began breaking down everything below. Officer Tom worked at his console, recording every detail. "The energy readings are incredible," he muttered. "They're converting matter directly into storable energy. But the pattern, there's something odd about it." Linda, the Thunder's chief science officer, nodded in agreement. Her fingers flew across her terminal as she analyzed the data. "They're too perfect," she said. "Look at this." She pointed to a series of numbers scrolling across her screen. "Every movement, every energy pulse, it's all exactly calculated. No variation at all." "Bring up the footage from our earlier fight," Stone ordered. The main screen split, showing their battle alongside the current harvest operation. The crew studied both scenes intently. Mike, the weapons officer, suddenly straightened in his chair. "There," he exclaimed. "When we used the paint bombs, look at their response time. It doubled. No, tripled." Linda's eyes lit up with understanding. "They couldn't process the unexpected variable," she said. "They're crystalline computing. It's based on perfect mathematical patterns. They're incredibly powerful, but they can't handle chaos," Stone finished. "They're like a supercomputer faced with illogical input. They have to recalculate everything when something doesn't fit their patterns." The crew fell silent as they watched another section of the planet's surface transform into barren rock. The Dominion's harvest was methodical, precise, and completely unstoppable, unless you knew how to disrupt it. "Show me their battle formations again," Stone ordered. "All the footage we have." The screens filled with images of Dominion ships in combat. In every scene, their movements were flawless, their coordination perfect, too perfect. "Look here," Tom pointed. "When they attack, they always maintain exact distances between ships. Their firing patterns follow strict mathematical sequences. Even their retreat paths are perfectly calculated." Linda pulled up more data. "Their crystal technology gives them incredible power, but it's also their weakness. They think in pure logic, pure mathematics. They can't improvise. And that's why they've been so successful," Lee added. "Most species try to match their perfection. Build bigger ships, stronger weapons, better shields. But it never works because the Dominion will always be more perfect, more precise." Stone walked closer to the window, watching as the Dominion ships continued their harvest. "But humans," he said slowly, "we're anything but perfect. We're messy, unpredictable." "Sir," Mike spoke up, "I have an idea. Remember those old Earth War movies? About submarines?" Stone turned, a slight smile forming on his face. "You're thinking about chaos tactics, random depth changes, unexpected directions, mixed with some old guerrilla warfare concepts." Mike nodded. "Hit and run, but with random patterns. No logic they can analyze and predict." Captain Lee looked confused. "But you only have one ship," he said. "The Dominion has thousands." "Sometimes," Stone replied, "one is all you need. especially if that one can teach others how to fight back. He turned to his crew. Send all our data to the combat simulator. I want every possible scenario tested. Let's find out just how much chaos these crystal ships can handle before they break. As if hearing his words, the Dominion ships above the planet shifted their formation slightly, their crystal hulls gleaming in the sunlight. They had no idea that their greatest weakness had just been discovered, not by superior technology or overwhelming force, but by humans simply being human. The real question now was, what would Stone and his crew do with this knowledge? The mining colony on Dracon VI was supposed to be hidden. Built inside an asteroid field, shielded from scans, it housed 10,000 refugees from 3 different species. But somehow, the Dominion had found it. 3 crystal ships moved through the asteroid field with perfect precision, calculating the exact path needed to reach the colony. Their hulls pulsed with deadly intent as they approached their target. Inside the colony's control room, the alarm sirens wailed. Evacuation ships aren't ready yet. The colony leader shouted, "We need at least 20 more minutes." That's when every sensor screen lit up with a new signal. Through the asteroid field came the thunder, but not in any normal way. The human ship was spinning, tumbling, making moves that seemed completely random. On the Thunder's bridge, Captain Stone sat calmly in his command chair. Status of Operation Chaos. Random number generators are running at full power, Mike reported from Tactical. Our course changes are completely unpredictable. Not even our own computers can guess what we'll do next. The Dominion ships paused their advance. For 3 full seconds, and eternity in space combat, they tried to analyze this strange behavior. Their crystal processors struggled to find a pattern where none existed. Now, Stone ordered. The Thunder's new weapons deployed. Instead of traditional missiles, they launched clouds of metallic dust. Instead of energy beams, they fired nets of charged plasma that moved in spiral patterns. Paint bombs mixed with flash grenades created a chaos of color and light. The crystal ship's perfect formation broke apart as their sensors were overwhelmed. They tried to establish new attack patterns, but the Thunder kept changing its approach. 1 second it was charging straight ahead. The next it was spinning backwards while firing in 3 directions. Their response time is dropping, Linda reported excitedly. Their processors can't keep up with the random variables. The first Dominion ship fell when it tried to dodge a paint cloud and flew straight into a plasma net. Its crystal hull cracked, energy spilling out into space. The second ship managed to fire a few shots, but they all missed. How could they hit a target that moved like a drunk dancer? Colony reports 15 minutes until evacuation is complete, Officer Tom called out. They'll have it, Stone promised. Mike, initiate attack pattern random. Mike grinned as he pressed buttons on his console. You mean the one where we let the ship's cat walk across the tactical controls? That's the one. The Thunder's movements became even more erratic. It bounced off asteroid shields, used them as cover, and seemed to break every rule of space combat. The remaining Dominion ships fired desperately, but their shots went wide, their perfect calculations useless against pure chaos. The second crystal ship shattered when it tried to predict where the Thunder would be, only to find empty space as the human ship had already moved in an impossible direction. The third, perhaps learning from its companions, attempted to retreat. "Oh no you don't," Stone muttered. "Show them our new trick." The Thunder fired its main gun, but instead of a normal shot, it launched what looked like a cloud of junk, broken metal, old machine parts, even what appeared to be kitchen utensils. The cloud spread out, each piece moving randomly, creating a maze of unpredictable trajectories. The Dominion ship's processors overloaded trying to calculate all the possible paths through this chaotic field. It froze for a crucial second, and that was all the Thunder needed. A precisely aimed shot, the only precise thing they'd done in the battle, struck the crystal ship's core. As the last Dominion ship broke apart, cheers erupted from the colony. The evacuation ships started landing back in their bays. They wouldn't need to run today. On the Thunder's bridge, Stone looked at the tactical display, showing the debris of 3 Dominion ships. "Send word to the Council," he ordered. "Tell them we found a way to fight back. Tell them." He smiled slightly. Sometimes the best pattern is no pattern at all. The news would spread quickly through the galaxy. The unbeatable Dominion ships had been destroyed not by superior force or advanced technology, but by something they couldn't understand or counter: human unpredictability. And this was just the beginning. The Thunder's main hangar had never been so crowded. Representatives from 12 different species stood in groups, talking excitedly among themselves. Some floated in anti-gravity fields, others stood on mechanical legs, and a few were surrounded by environmental bubbles. All of them had come for the same reason: hope. Captain Stone walked among them, Officer Tom at his side translating. The universal translators they'd developed were working well, but some concepts needed a personal touch to explain. "So you're saying," a tall, tree-like being asked, "that we've been fighting the Dominion wrong this whole time?" "Exactly," Stone nodded. "You've all been trying to match their perfection. That's what they expect, what they can calculate and counter." He pointed to a hologram showing their recent battle. "But look what happens when you do the unexpected." The footage showed the Thunder spinning through space, firing random patterns of unconventional weapons. The gathered aliens watched in amazement as the mighty Dominion ships fell into confusion. "But we don't have your weapons," said a small furry creature from the mining colonies. "Our ships are simple, made for running and hiding." Stone smiled. "The weapons aren't the key, it's the thinking behind them." He waved to Linda, who stepped forward with a datapad. "We've analyzed every successful resistance against overwhelming forces in Earth's history: guerrilla warfare, asymmetric tactics, hit and run attacks. The weapons don't matter as much as how you use them." Mike brought out a box of simple items: paint cans, metal scraps, even some old toys. "Look at these," he said. "Nothing special. But when used randomly, thrown into space in unpredictable patterns, they confuse Dominion sensors more than any advanced weapon." The aliens gathered around the box, touching the items curiously. A mechanical being picked up a child's spinning top. This confused their sensors. When spun in zero gravity, coated with reflective paint, and released in a cluster of 100 others. "Absolutely," Linda explained. "Their processors spend precious seconds trying to identify and categorize each object's movement pattern. But there is no pattern. That's the beauty of it." In another corner of the hangar, human engineers worked with alien technicians, showing them how to modify their ship's systems for unpredictable movement patterns. The key wasn't building new ships, but changing how they used the ones they had. "Attack from angles they don't expect," Stone continued. "Change speed randomly. Use asteroids and debris as cover. Never do the same thing twice. Their crystal processors can't handle true randomness." A hologram appeared in the center of the hangar, showing the galaxy map. Red dots marked Dominion territory, but now small blue spots were appearing, places where their ships had been driven back. "We're not asking you to fight like humans," Stone addressed the crowd. "We're asking you to fight like yourselves. Every species here has survived this long because you found your own ways to resist. Now, we'll combine those ways. Create something the Dominion can't predict because it's never seen anything like it." The tree being raised what looked like a branch. "The Dominion destroy our forest ships because they followed ancient battle patterns. But if we move like our seedlings in a storm—" "Exactly," Linda exclaimed. "Use your natural instincts, your unique ways of thinking. The Dominion can't calculate what it doesn't understand." More aliens stepped forward, sharing ideas. The mining colony representatives talked about using their drilling ships in new ways. Aquatic species discussed tactics based on ocean currents. Each brought something different, unpredictable. "Remember," Stone said as the meeting wound down, "the Thunder is just one ship. But together, we're building something more powerful than a fleet. We're building uncertainty. And that's the one thing the Dominion can't defeat. As the representatives returned to their ships, carrying data crystals full of new tactics and ideas, there was a new energy in their movements. For the first time in decades, they weren't planning to just survive. They were planning to fight back. The galaxy was about to become a much more unpredictable place, and that was exactly what humanity was counting on. The space around the Centauri nebula erupted in light as 50 Dominion ships emerged from hyperspace. Their crystal hulls formed a perfect geometric pattern, beautiful and deadly. At their center was something new, a massive crystal dreadnought twice the size of any previous Dominion vessel. "Well," Captain Stone said from the Thunder's bridge, "looks like we got their attention." The Thunder floated seemingly alone in space, a tiny dark shape against the colorful backdrop of the nebula. But it wasn't alone. Hidden in the clouds of cosmic gas and dust, 30 ships of various sizes and designs waited silently. Each one was equipped with what their crews now called chaos drives, systems designed to create unpredictable movement patterns. "Dominion fleet is transmitting," Officer Tom reported. "First time they've ever tried to communicate." The message was simple, transmitted in pure mathematical sequences: submit for harvesting. Resistance is inefficient. Stone smiled. "Send our reply." From the Thunder's rear section, thousands of small objects burst into space. They looked like space debris, tumbling and spinning randomly. The Dominion fleet's sensors tried to track them all, their crystal processors struggling to categorize the chaos. "They're following the pattern we predicted," Linda said excitedly. "Look, they're spreading out to analyze the debris field." The massive Dominion formation began to break up as ships moved to investigate the strange objects. Their perfect geometry wavered as each ship encountered different, unpredictable elements. "Now," Stone ordered. The hidden ships emerged from the nebula, each one moving in its own unique way. The Tree People's vessels spun like seeds in the wind. Mining ships tumbled and rolled like rocks in a landslide. Aquatic species ships flowed through space like water currents. The Dominion fleet's response time slowed dramatically as their processors tried to calculate all these impossible movements. Their crystal hulls pulsed with confused energy patterns. "Launch the chaos field generator," Stone commanded. From the Thunder's main cannon, a special device fired into the center of the battle. It was humanity's greatest achievement, a machine that generated truly random energy patterns on all frequencies. The device spun up, and suddenly space itself seemed to go mad. Sensor readings became nonsense. Communication signals turned to static. Even light itself seemed to bend unpredictably. For the crystal ships of the Dominion, it was like being thrown into a storm of pure chaos. "Their formation is breaking completely," Mike reported with satisfaction. "Individual ships are trying to establish their own attack patterns, but they can't coordinate." The Allied fleet struck. Each ship attacked in its own way, using tactics based on their species' natural instincts. The Dominion ships, unable to predict where attacks would come from or what form they would take, began to fall one by one. The massive dreadnought at the center of the Dominion fleet tried to restore order. Its powerful crystal processors attempted to calculate a solution, but the more it processed, the more its systems struggled with the randomness surrounding it. "They're still dangerous," Stone warned as a crystal ship managed to destroy 2 Allied vessels. "Keep the patterns random. Don't let them adapt." The battle became something never before seen in the galaxy. Ships moved in ways that defied traditional space combat tactics. Weapons fired in seemingly random directions, creating unpredictable fields of fire that the Dominion ships couldn't evade. Then, in a moment that would be remembered for generations, the great crystal dreadnought's hull began to crack. The chaos field had overwhelmed its processors, causing cascade failures throughout its systems. Light burst from the cracks, and the massive ship began to break apart. Seeing their flagship dying, the remaining Dominion ships attempted to retreat. But their calculated escape routes were blocked by debris fields and randomly moving Allied ships. One by one, They fell to the chaos they couldn't comprehend. As the last crystal ship shattered, cheers erupted across the Ally fleet. The Thunder's crew celebrated with them, but Stone remained focused on his display screen. "Send word to all resistance cells," he ordered. "The Dominion can be beaten. Today proves it. The galaxy doesn't belong to those who are strongest, but to those who dare to be unpredictable." The battle was over, but its impact was just beginning. The age of crystal perfection was ending, replaced by something far more interesting: chaos and freedom. 1 month after the Battle of Centauri Nebula, the council chamber was filled beyond capacity. Where once 12 frightened representatives had met in secret, now hundreds of species gathered openly. The room hummed with excitement and hope. Captain Stone stood at the center, surrounded by holograms showing the galaxy map. The red zones marking Dominion territory were shrinking daily, replaced by patches of green where freed worlds celebrated their liberation. "The reports are confirmed," Elder Tom announced, his gray skin glowing with joy. "The Dominion has lost control of the entire western spiral arm. Their remaining ships are retreating to their core systems." The chamber erupted in cheers. Stone watched the celebrations with a quiet smile, remembering how different this room had felt when he first arrived. Fear had been replaced by determination, despair by hope. Linda stepped forward with the latest analysis. "The Dominion's command structure is collapsing," she reported. "Without their central coordination, their ships can't adapt to the chaos tactics spreading across the galaxy." The holograms shifted to show footage from recent battles. Everywhere, ships of all sizes and designs were using the techniques learned from the Thunder. Mining vessels dropped clouds of reflective ore dust to confuse crystal sensors. Transport ships programmed their flight paths using patterns based on animal movements. Even civilian craft carried packages of what they now called chaos bombs, simple objects that moved in ways Dominion processors couldn't predict. More importantly, Stone added, "Worlds are learning they don't need massive fleets or advanced weapons to resist. The Dominion's greatest weakness was there all along, their inability to handle the unexpected." From the crowd, a young member of the plant people raised a vine. "Our forest worlds are growing again," she announced. "We've planted our seeds in random patterns the Dominion can't calculate. Their harvester ships can't process the chaos of natural growth." Similar stories came from across the galaxy. The trading worlds had turned their merchant routes into unpredictable mazes. The mechanics had reprogrammed their machines to move like dancers instead of soldiers. Each species found its own way to embrace chaos over perfection. "But the war isn't over," Stone reminded them. "The Dominion is wounded, not defeated. They still hold thousands of worlds. And that's why we're here today," Elder Tom said. He pressed a button, and a new hologram appeared, technical plans for the Thunder's chaos field generator. "Captain Stone and his crew have agreed to share their technology with all free worlds." The room went silent in surprise. Humans, barely known in the galaxy months ago, were giving away their greatest weapon freely. "Because it's not really about the technology," Stone explained. "The generator just creates random patterns. The real weapon is the idea behind it. That disorder can defeat perfect order. That unpredictability is stronger than calculation." Mike stepped forward, carrying the same box of simple items they'd shown their first allies. "These are still some of our best weapons," he said, holding up a child's toy. "Because the Dominion doesn't understand play or art or dancing or any of the wonderful chaos that makes life worth living." The chamber filled with murmurs of agreement. Species that had hidden in fear for decades were remembering their songs, their arts, their unique ways of moving through space. The very things that made them different from the crystal perfection of the Dominion were becoming their greatest strengths. "So go," Stone concluded. "Spread the word to every world still under Dominion control. Tell them they don't need to match the Dominion's perfection. Tell them to embrace their own nature, their own chaos. Because that's what the Dominion fears most, life in all its beautiful, unpredictable forms." As the council session ended and representatives departed to spread their message of hope, Stone looked out at the stars through the chamber's window. Somewhere out there, the Dominion was trying to calculate its response to all this chaos. He almost felt sorry for them. The galaxy had lived in fear of perfection for too long. Now it was remembering how to dance, and no force in the universe could stop a galaxy that had learned to dance again.